presenting your events to the community. Okay, so the next speaker is coming from, is joining us from a republic we love. It's Argentina. I think he's a rock star. Many of you know him. Yes, but please remember to follow us on Twitter at NGCOM 2020. So please raise your energy and all your love for our speakers who have done a wonderful job. So we will now welcome our next speaker.
Con la capital federal de Argentina.
Federal capital
Conocida
of
por su centro, la
Argentina,
Plaza de
known
Mayo
by
está
its
rodeada de
center,
imponentes edificios del
downtown, the
siglo
Plaza de
XIX,
Mayo,
incluida la
surrounded by
Casa
wonderful
Rosada y el
buildings
icónico
from the
Palacio
19th
Presidencial
century,
que tiene
including
varios
Casa
niveles.
Rosada and the Presidential Palace.
Desde allí nos acompaña Jorge Cano,
From
arquitecto
there, we have
principal y
Jorge
Google
Cano,
Developer
who was
Expert en
principal
tecnologías web,
architect and Google
Angular y
developer
NativeScript.
expert in
Este
web
increíble speaker nos
technologies.
enseñará los principios del testing
Incredible
en
speaker
Angular.
will talk about testing in Angular. Hello, Jorge. How are you? How are you doing? I'm very happy. Are you ready? A bit nervous? Or nothing? Well, as the title reads, it's a talk on test and not testing the chart. So that's the way we things are. How are things in Argentina? How are you doing? Well, confined a bit. Not a lot of changes in my normal life. I think this quarantine doesn't change lives for developers, right? Yesterday, I heard you were a mentor in Alan Frost's presentation. How was it? Well, it was wonderful. It was fun. He's my boss and my friend, so I love him to speak with Mexican accent. I love how Mexicans speak. I love their accent. So there were Colombians, there were Argentinians. So it was super fun. I really enjoyed it. Great. It's great you have enjoyed, and I'm glad you enjoyed the workshop. So now I give the floor to you so that you can proceed to your presentation. Thank you. Did I share it? Because I always ask these questions. I don't like to bother Nico, who is there in the backstage. Are you able to see my conference? Very well. Okay, so welcome to this wonderful presentation that I decided to call Testeando, ando. It's something interesting that I need to know, and it's very important. I need everyone to write in the chat if you can. If you see me looking to my right and to my left, is because I'm seeing Nico or Carlos. So please can you write the time you're at in your own countries? That way I know how many differences, in time differences we have. So as you can see, that way we all know the delay. So, that's how the testing works. So please write the exact time. For example, I am at 1:24 with the flag of Argentina. So write the time you're in and the flag of your country. For those of you who don't know me, this is Marcel. I am principal engineer at Hero Devs, a wonderful company with wonderful people like me. No, kidding. It's a company where I love to work, and we're engaged in lots of wonderful things. We're doing okay. We only have 2 minutes of delay, so that's okay. I am a Scully core member, a static site generator in charge of the jump stack for Angular. But if you didn't see it, I think someone is going to give a talk very soon about it, and you can listen to that. Otherwise, you can look for Scully, and that's it. Based on a lot of time devoted to making videos, the presentation Google gave me the authority to enter the program of Google Dev Experts for Angular and performance. So I am a streamer in YouTube. I do streaming every day. YouTube, you can look for me. And there's also a myth in Argentina. It's called GBItis. I'm the owner of that. And I am also a podcaster. So raise your hands for that. Okay, we're doing okay. Perfect. So for those of you who don't know, I opened the first NGConf in Colombia. There's the picture. It was the first workshop in the morning. They made me wake up too early. Carlos and Juan. Juan escaped and then he went to Austria, right? So the mission had me wake up very early. But just wanted to let you know that I have some history here. So, well, with this, I want to celebrate with all of you my presentation number. Ta-tan, ta-tan. I didn't prepare music. I didn't want to, violate any copyrights. It's my talk number 500. 500 presentations. It's keynote speak presentations. Incredible. So here it is, my presentation number 500, exclusively for NG Conf Colombia. So hands for applause in the chat. I love to watch the chat and see what's happening. Okay, since the talk is called Testeando, ando, and this would be number 500, I want everyone to get on board this wonderful plane called Cumbancha Voladora del Test. We're going to test things on board this aircraft. Cumbancha voladora, flying cumbancha. So I would love to see the translation by Simpson around the world. So, a world without tests. It's like 2020. A current philosopher said, a world without tests, it's like 2020. And I think it's right. He's right. Here's the Comancha Voladora. You see how people run away from this beautiful year we had to experience. Well, so Cumbancha is here. And since we're in Colombia, I think you all know this wonderful lady. The other day I called her and I said, hey, I'm going to make a presentation for Colombia testing. Can you send me a picture? And there she is. And she sent an audio. I cannot reproduce it, but it reads, I am still here waiting for this bill to pass all the tests. Well, you know now about this topic. I'm not singing because I clearly cannot even sing in the shower. Regardless, Jackie told us we need to pass all tests. Shakira told us. With the Cumbancha Voladora, for those of you who don't know, it's an aircraft, a prototype from Burns in the casino. When he goes crazy, he plays the casino there, and there it is. So let's begin our journey. I never went to Route Highway 66, but I thought the picture was great. So I want you all to close your eyes at this point and imagine you running a test along Highway 66 in San Bernardino. Okay? Everyone there, close your eyes. Everyone thinking about San Bernardino running the tests. And this is easy. Our process is easy. Everyone says, oh no, why are you testing? This process is easy. The first thing, as the singer would say it, is the first thing is to write the code. Second part is to write the test. And the third step, if you've got good humor, great. If you sang the song, it's great. It means you're young like I am. So you create the PR. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. That easy it is to write the code, write the test, and easy peasy. And there's something, because if you did not see community, I recommend this. When you're going to write the test, you have different options, different things to do it. So if you still don't know, or interpreters must be having a terrible time. Please forgive me. I am anticipating my apologies for everything I'm saying. A lot of slack. Great job. Please, everyone, go to Twitter and write. Thank you, interpreters, in at ngconfcom for enduring Jorge Cano. So if you want to know what the basis for testing is, do the same thing Shakira did for youtube.com/Jorge Cano, because we're going to drive you around the test. Okay, so now let's go to the pretty part of all this. Talking a lot, blah, blah, blah. So I drew a diagram, 6 or 7 diagrams. It took 7 hours, took Carlos for the diagram. So how to elect, how to select, how to choose, how do we want to test, what to do, how we do it. So this is easy. What do we want to test? A flow. We want to see how it logs, it goes to home. We have karma and cypress. And then we're going to take a look at what we choose. And if we want to test a specific function, we have just mean and gist. Mostly I'm focusing on Angular. Many of the tools can be used in some other frameworks, libraries, backends, etc. But we're going to focus on Angular. Okay, so chat, I want you to write which of all these are you going to choose to be in our magical box with the questions. So in the chat, everyone can write either Jasmine or Jest or Karma or Cypress, whatever. Write whatever you want to be in the magical box. Everyone in the chat, vote, please, for what you want to see there in this magical box. Imagine your votes in the chat will make appear what needs to appear in the box. Magic. Maybe yes, maybe not. Maybe it's a lie. Maybe we will test. Well, anyhow, I'm seeing that everyone is writing in the chat what they want. Okay. Boom. Boom, baby. So we hug. A big hug for free hugs for Cypress and Jest. Those who wrote or voted for Cypress Jest, you won. You voted, and I listen to the votes. I hear you. I read you. So there we are. So now we hug with a free hug to Cypress and Jest. So the question is, why are you choosing this? So I was thinking, because I knew what your answer would be. I have certain powers. I cannot tell you about them, but I knew you were going to choose Cypress. So I said, okay, let's go to Cypress page. To the Cypress page. It has a translation into Spanish, and it reads Cypress is a tool of front-end testing, latest generation created for modern webs. I like that so far. Latest generation. I'm like a car 2019 model or 2020. So modern difficulties. So we make modern applications. I was in a Colombian class. I last year I learned a lot. So Haciendolo allows us to configure the tests, write, depurate them, and they say this is great. Okay, so I said, why test? Test? Well, the truth is it's got wonderful animation. No, no, I'm kidding. To be serious, why did you buy this beautiful animation and I bought it? No, no, no. The truth is, to me, Jest complies very well with being able to test modern things. Okay, so I'm warming my hands because there's a demo here, but I'm not going to make a demo to show you how this is escalated, etc. No. See how easy this is to install. I mean, installation of this is very easy. So if at some point you did a hello world hello world, and then you change with a semicolon and nothing worked, please raise your hand in the chat. It's important to see it. Telling me yes, it's the chat where it's a presentation where people write more in the chat. So how many? Six new courses, the chat, two connections to internet. So let's write the chat. The Colombian classes were the best. Aníbal said it, so he was there. I said, I want to show people test, but true test, truly test. It's not like if true, it passes. If true passes, no, what's this all about? Stop lying with the tests. Tests are difficult or easy depending on us, depending on how focused we are. As I told you at the beginning, I am a Scully Core member. It sounds pretty, but it means basically that I work at Scully, that I do open source and at Angular, and I have a star, etc. So what happened really was that we started writing, just like everyone else around the world. Don't lie with the TDD. Just like everyone else around the world, we started writing the code without one single test. The test was, I have a screen here, you can see it, but in the streamline button, I don't know if you can see it, I have a button to test everything. So imagine the guy was pressing a button for the console to execute, and it was about, unload this, execute, run this or run that. It was terrible. It was like, well, the famous in my the famous phrase, in my computer it works, and one day things stopped working. To have an expect true was better than what we were doing, but the truth is we got to a point where we were prepared to say, check this, is it working for the future? It makes sense for us to do this or that, or continue with Scully, etc. And we defined in this beautiful Scully vector testing. So imagine, well, Scully was done in a monorib with an X. Thank you, an X. And imagine, look at all the beautiful commands we have. 60, you finish with commands and they start with 11. So we have 49 commands without the tests. I mean, if I'm not counting wrong. So the first test failed. Let's go to zero. When you have lots of libraries, those of you who have libraries or lots of projects, lots of things, tests are one of the most important things we have. Why? Because to test everything is, I mean, burdensome. Imagine this test. We run in parallel, we kill a server, we build the code, we do a syn we do a server, a test dog, we kill another server, we release the test, the example of the test, we wait for a server, we execute test. Can you imagine all this? No. If I went with Maluma, no. I went with Cypress and Jest. Great. I know I have it in my mind, but I don't think it's Colombian. So let's avoid it. So what happens? Why running tests? Because there are many functionalities that we cannot test. Imagine Scully doesn't work. I mean, we test the code with the unit tests and we have functions with these unit tests, but it's based on building something. I have to test results, and it is very difficult. How do you test a result? Manually. I imagine people open the distribution. We go to statics, dog side. Okay, so do we have everything? Yes, it's perfect. When I open, what do we have? HTML. Can you imagine doing this every time you do a build? Can you imagine in open source? You not only do this, but there are people who make pull requests. Can you imagine? It's chaos. So yeah, Marseille's flag is not there. All the same have lots of flags. So can you imagine if Barcelona would have run a test of the game? They would have not lost. They would have not lost. I tell you honestly. So let's talk about tests. Okay, what did I say? Cypress and jest. So the first thing you do to look for this, okay, here we have Cypress. Cypress, the truth is, it's super easy, let's be honest. To install it is very easy. So you cannot obviate. But there are things Cypress has that I think are spectacular. And I'm going to tell you what they are. First, it allows me to release a server. It allows me to execute everything. It helps us maintain our integrations, our features, what plugins we want to use to give it a lot of life. Screenshots. This is very good to be able to see the screenshots to see what happened. If someone makes a pull request, you can see if the tests worked without looking at the code first, because if tests didn't work, you have to manage that and then you go to the code. And you can see the video at the background. QA, come on, let's go. We're giving you everything at once. So I'm going to go to Cypress first and then to Gist. I don't know, Nico, how much time do we have left, more or less? Am I doing fine? Do I have little time left? Okay. Okay, everything fine. I'll continue speaking, and if you see me disappear, it's because Nico cut me away, cut me off. So tests. One folder called tests. What are we doing? There are tests. Cypress. Okay. So it's got everything we mentioned. How great. Let's go to integration tests. What happens? Tests. To write a test is very similar to everything you have. Context, you ask it to do something, to visit something, and to take something. So I'm going to modify this because I don't know. It's like this. So first test, router service test. We're going to test something. How do we test this? We visit first the page. We already told you it existed. What did you do at home? To obtain main of static H1. We're navigating through the HTML. We're walking along it. Taka, taka. What you would normally do with inspectors, with Chrome inspectors. Yeah? It's the same way. Okay, so I was saying, if you have an H1 of static mail, give it to me. Here we see has, and you have to say easy. The same with this. I can use CCS, okay, because it's the way we do with CCS to obtain things. And to obtain things and see if they're true or not. Here I could write true. In fact, it began being true. Easy, right? Began that way. But yeah, okay, if you have this, great, and the same with the sampling block. This is a bit more complex. Why? Because we have a build of a page as an example that delivers certain HTML, goes into UL, EA. If you contain a user or not, if you contain it, the element should, the HTML should say this, should read this. So this way, it's easy to test because we do it by hand, manually. I cannot do this manually every time there's a PR because there are people who are capable of writing the magical code, just like the magic with Cypress and Jest. That magic exists, but for the code, sometimes the compiler doesn't work. I mean, maybe for some other things it can, but the truth is we can test it easily. So that's Cypress. What it does, it basically navigates, it travels, walks around our code, and it eats beats of HTML, right? So our Cypress, we're going to be like the GPS for this, for Cypress. You have here, you have these, walk around here, and if it doesn't happen, something's wrong. So with our friend Jest, things are totally different. It allows us to set up things. I love to set up the, it doesn't allow us to do local setup, local storage. And the interesting thing about this is that it gives us some helpers, functions that we're going to use to add things. In our case, our helpers, for example, replace Angular. Angular has certain indices, and in the index, it's got versions and things of the sort that we remove. Why? Because we use snapshots. Our tests are based on snapshots. So we're going to expect something here. What do we expect? Okay. Everything in tests is the same. Describe what am I going to do. Check if this is right or not. And what should happen here? Well, it should describe this or that. So what are we going to do? What are we going to take? Give me the entire HTML. What are we going to look for? X and X. So it's the same thing we do manually, but based the code. And there's magic. Href has to match this. And if you look at your snapshots, that's where the magic is. It's a compiler. Accept my snapshot. So I'm testing because it's super weird. I'm testing the build. That is the result of the build, not the code. It's in the build. So here we have a build, and we say to our friend here in locakedness that it's got to have this. What we place here has to match this. So we're fine so far. Just basically is very beautiful. It goes hand in hand with the other. In fact, we have schematics. We use schematics, which is great. We have our helper support in each one of the schematics. We write if it allows me to click. Well, this one doesn't have it. It's not tested. We have our own tests, so we can make sure things are working the way they should. And before I leave this, the interesting beauty of this is that, for example, it lived have app it allows us to, in case of any push or test, it allows us to execute our tests or to run our tests, and that way we're going to avoid problems. So it's, imagine anyone coming here, let's say, okay, we really thank open source. This is open for anyone to make a pull request. But since we are all beautiful and wonderful developers, we're thinking, what if we think about something else while we write the code? We can break something. If we see all pull requests, you would have to execute line by line. So there comes a bit of the automation in the test CI/CD, and we can write it there. If there are no tests, there are no errors in the pull request. The error will be in the distribution, and then everything will be hanging from there. So the truth is my recommendation is for you to look at the tests the way Shakira looks at Cypress and Jest. And there I announce you that today, as our Shaki friend would say it, Shaki, they called her, right? They're saying yes. So I warn you that I am testing today. Hoy te aviso, ay te aviso. This is what you're going to do. That's how I feel sometimes. When you start testing after an entire life avoiding making the test, because before I go, I want to tell you about a very important application for a bank. One day, someone to fix a memory problem decided to change half of the code, and you know what they did? What they did? Less, minus, minus, skip, minus, test. The boss thought, okay, I will approve this. We thought, okay, this will save 6 gigas in our memory, so let's approve it. I mean, thereafter, we were never able to enable the tests. It was impossible to go back. It was impossible to go back. So if at some point you have a problem with a test or you never tested, I want to tell you this is the time. If you want to know more about testing, you can follow me at Jorge Cano or in youtube.com. Each mouse has 70 million clicks, so you can go to youtube.com/Jorge Cano. Apps J and see and write everything. And you'll see how to the team in for giving so much love to this conference, and thank you for everyone to be here. Thank you very much, and we'll see you back at the Q&A with our friends from NGConf Colombia. Adriana was saying, I'm not testing the microphone. She's saying, I'm laughing, laughing. Raise your hand so that not you touch the microphone. And there you can hear Lisa. Thank you for interpreting what Jorge was doing. Thank you very much for your talk. Such a wonderful presentation, such great energy. And I also want to thank you for three things. One, for crashing the chat. Two, for crashing and putting to the test our moderator. And third, to putting to the test our poor interpreter. So they did everything work? Okay, great. So we passed. We're in green light? Yes, great. Okay, so tests in green and we put in red. Great. Okay, so we'll see you back at the Q&A.